What's up guys, SkyKevin here, and today we're talking about the quality system in Last Oasis. We'll be getting into all the details regarding how it works, the different types, and pretty much every facet of what quality does in the new system on the basis of each of my tests. And this is probably going to be changed and rebalanced a day or two after I release this video. So, let's get started. Alright, quality. It's something I've been too afraid to tackle in the old 1 to 100 system of the past, and now that it's a bit more simplified, I'm happy to dig into the numbers to see if we can make sense of what the heck is going on. Suffice to say, there's some weird stuff with quality where the patterns don't match up, and we'll have to go through each of the examples and tests that I've done to make sure what works and what doesn't. When it comes to quality, I first wanted to get into the durability of items. That is a factor that seems to change with every type of item and a constant for any quality piece of equipment, armor, weapon, or tool. Since I don't want to deal with the process of standing there getting hit over and over again for hours on end, I decided to forego looking at armor. Instead, I did a very simple test of hitting a desert palm tree with a beat stick, a crude hatchet, a stone hatchet, and finally a legendary stone hatchet. I know this is very rudimentary and looks only at the face value of it, but the key here was looking at how the durability changes based on the type. Obviously chopping down a tree with a beat stick isn't ideal, and so it acts as a bit of a control for the difference in how the tools affect the object that they're hitting. So the results were that a beat stick broke after 150 hits, a crude hatchet after 113, which probably was about 100, a stone hatchet after 313, which probably was 300, and the legendary stone hatchet after 600 hits. After hitting trees on a test server over 1,000 times, I decided we should probably be okay with that data. What I gleaned from this is that the legendary stone hatchet had approximately twice the durability of the normal stone hatchet. Additionally, there didn't seem to be any performance drop-offs for the beat stick, as it was able to out-durability the crude hatchet, despite being used incorrectly on trees. This was obviously to simulate maybe hitting a walker or some other object with it as a transfer of damage to durability. Further, in order to actually track the amount of durability reduction, I did a simple test where I used the tool after 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 swings, and saw if they had the ability to stack afterwards. Fun fact, if you have a piece of gear like a weapon that you drag from your equipment over another weapon of the exact same durability, it will allow you to stack it. If you just try to stack it from your bag, it'll have the repair option come up instead. It's a good trick to know if you're trying to level out the durability of some items and stack them in the future. So we can see after testing that durability goes down at a constant rate of per hit, no matter what material we're hitting. One thing to keep in mind here is that I didn't test durability reducing based on hitting a player with armor. I believe there may be something there where player versus player hits might change the actual durability reduction of weapons and tools, but that is something out of the scope of the tests that I did. So knowing all this, I think it's safe to say that a legendary weapon or tool will have roughly 2 times the amount of durability and hits as a normal quality weapon of that type. The other rarities in between are assumably the middle values, and likely around a 20% increase from green to blue to purple to gold. If you want to get out there and grind away and test it, leave a comment down below with what you found out. Next, let's ask ourselves about the other values associated with weapons. These are pretty easy to figure out as they're all listed on the weapon as you go through them on the test server. Generally speaking, after looking at the difference from white, green, blue, purple, and gold, there's no change to the weight of the weapon, or the reach, or any of the other percent damage modifiers. The speed increases, usually by +1 for every quality upgrade. However, on some weapons, I found that it goes up by +2, and others it might go up by +0 at specific levels. I'm not sure why that would be the case, but it's likely to do with the math being a float of 0.4 as an increase versus 0.5 of an increase. And as the game likes to round up, you have that notable difference become apparent. The damage I found always goes up by 25% per level, so by the time you have a legendary weapon, it's usually +4 to 5 speed and 100% or double the damage of the normal one. The one thing I will say about having legendary weapons, and something for the developers to be careful of, is the exponential increase that factors into when characters spec into damage for their stats, as well as use potions in the future. If you think about it, every point you put into the damage stat is a 2% increase on whatever the base damage of your weapon. So if your weapon's base damage is 100%, that means you deal an extra 20% or 20 damage with 10 extra points. This compounds even further when you use the potions that make you deal even more damage, where you might even deal double damage on a single hit. In this example, if you had a weapon capable of 150 damage, you would then be hitting for the 300 damage mark, not assuming any armor reduction. I know I'm spelling out a worst case scenario here, but it's definitely possible with some stuff coming in the future updates, and I'm also expecting they may introduce a rebalancing patch when it comes to the higher qualities as well as in the future, so we'll see what happens. When it comes to crafting stations and other buildables, quality becomes a factor there as well. With anything involving a storage container like say medium chests or schematic chests, the amount of space you can hold will go up according to the quality. I tested a few of them like the scroll rack, which goes up from 25 to 40 to 45 to 50 to 55, ammo chest from 10 to 25 to 30 to 35 to 40, the ammo scroll rack from 16 to 31 to 36 to 41 to 46, and the water bag from 100 to 125 to 150 to 175 to 200. Medium chests, I don't know, because I tried to use the console commands to make them and they're not in the free building option, so I have no idea. If anyone knows, please leave a comment down below with each of the different qualities. Additionally, buildings like the hammock will increase their water storage to 3, 3, 4, 5, and 6 per level. Obviously, if you have a legendary woodworking station, the ability to craft legendary materials from your resources is also a paramount advantage. But I also looked into the health difference of each of them and found that it always goes up by 50% health, with legendary being an extra 200%. So your legendary station will have 3 times the health of a normal one. This is also the case with light wood base pieces, and I would assume for any other base structures going forward. It's not a huge deal yet, but I'm sure it'll become important in the future when PvP and base raiding becomes a thing. One other thing I'll say with these stations is after testing both quality walker weapons, such as the ballista and scattershot, there was no notable difference in the amount of damage those projectiles did. Further, crafting something like quality flint bolts did not add to the damage amounts of those weapons. So for the most part, anything buildable that's quality really will just have extra health associated with it. It's good to keep that in mind because really if you have a lot of quality materials, your base having 3 times the health per layer of walls might eventually amount to a huge advantage when it comes to a base defense. Granted, that still remains to be seen once the actual rating comes out. Moving on, we can look at the advantages to having a higher quality walker. Seeing as they recently had a huge increase of something like 750% more health to all walkers, this increased the benefits of higher quality walkers as well. When looking at the numbers, I compared the Firefly and Dinghy Walker at all the upgrade types and found that it increases on a constant base of 20%, 40%, 70%, and 120%. I found this strange as usually you would assume it's a 20% increment the whole way through, but apparently Legendary is a far greater benefit than the previous quality levels. For instance, a dinghy with normal quality will only have 15,000 hull HP, whereas a gold quality one will have 33,000. At just one tier down at the purple level, you have 25,500 HP or 7,500 less. I think with the future balance, they'll probably want to reduce this to a more reasonable 20% increment increase. One thing I should also mention about the quality of the hull is the amount of module slots increases by 500 per level of quality, with the gold having 2,000 slots. I think this is more or less a placeholder, as I doubt they're going to want people putting 2,000 mods in a single walker, but you never know if they're planning to balance modules to possibly have a tiny level of increase as you apply them to your walker. I have a bit of a bone to pick with this, as you can still level walkers up using Flots from the trade station. Unfortunately, every level of your walker is only 1 extra module slot, so it's essentially useless to level up and build those higher level walkers. I'm hoping they'll do something with this system soon, as there really isn't any value associated with Flots in the game, and so using a trade station doesn't make much economic sense. Indeed, with auctions not being a thing, the value of Flots are pretty much the same as Bitcoin at this point, and there's really no reason to do any of the quests in the trade station unless you really want to earn flobs for the free skins. Nevertheless, I digress. We also have to look at the legs and wings for walkers and how those increase. In this case, for the test, I looked at the quality increase for only dinghy legs and wings, and found that they both increase in HP at a rate of 35%, 75%, 100%, and 150% per quality level. This is quite strange, as you'd think once again it would be at a more constant rate, but for some reason you jump up sporadically at different values all the different tiers of quality. One thing I did not test in this case is whether the quality would affect the speed or handling of the walker with these different types. But I think it would be out of the scope of this test, and you'd want to do a more controlled test of all the walker's variations and speeds in the future. Still, it's pretty apparent that after looking at everything here, if you can make a walker out of quality, it's usually a good idea since every piece will just have more survivability to it and hopefully fare better in both PvP and PvE fights. Lastly, let's go into the details of tools and everything else when it comes to quality. When I say everything else, I mean things like the humidifier, which doesn't really change at all, at least in terms of the amount of water it can hold when it goes up in quality. I didn't, however, test if the area of effect for it increases with quality. Grappling hooks as well. I tried to do a bit of a test to see how they fare, and the gold grapple certainly feels like it drains less stamina upon use. I'd suggest someone do a full standardized test with it actually and figure out the numbers when it comes to stamina drain and distance traveled, etc. With improvised bottles, it's pretty standard. The amount of water you can hold increases by +1 per level, with the ability to hold 10 at gold quality. With the split bone bottle, there are 2 slots, and so it goes up by +2 per level, with a total of 14 and 14 on both sides by the end. For the schematic bag, as it goes up in quality, it adds another +2 slots for most of the levels. However, the gold quality goes up by +4 for a total of 20 schematic slots at that tier. The fiber bag, in a similar aspect, goes up by +2 slots per level, with +4 at gold, as well, making the highest it can hold have 15 slots. The torque battery goes up in capacity per quality as well, from 1000 to start, at an increase of 250 per quality level, with gold holding 2000. The backpack starts at 8 slots, and increases by +2 slots, until gold, where it then increases by +4 slots, to make 18 slots in total. Interestingly, with this one, they actually start to add damage reduction to the backpack as well, so a higher quality backpack will give you armor reduction as well. Lastly, I thought I'd do some tests when it came to some of the legendary healing items. When I used normal bandages, I found that they healed for 60, 67, 68, 73, and 78 for each of the quality levels. I don't know why there was a bit of variation there, and it may have been an error on my testing, but I found that nonetheless, the difference between normal bandages and gold quality of the same type was 60 and 78 respectively. This was a very interesting find, as in previous seasons the quality never mattered. I also tested Thornberry's healing, and although it was a painfully slow process to watch, it healed for 5, 7, 6, 7, and 6 at the different quality levels. I think this requires a lot more thorough testing to really see what's going on, and when it comes to this healing, as it may be based off of a percentage of your current or max health for thornberries, as well as for bandages. We don't know whether the higher quality ones heal faster, or if that's just extra HP added on to the time spent healing once it's been used. This could be the same for thornberries, as I found that when you ate multiple of them, it wouldn't increase the rate of healing, and rather just increase the duration of that +1 healing buff. When it comes to the rest of the equipment, I didn't do any tests for the durability increases, as I'm assuming it's probably at the same 20% increase as all the axes, weapons, and other tools. On all these pieces of gear, I never saw that the weight would change, and a cool fun fact I found while testing is that you gain 10 experience for every thornberry that you eat. I'm sure there are plenty of other effects for having different qualities of things that I haven't thought about when it comes to those many different functionalities. At the very least, I've tried quite a few of the different angles regarding their primary function in the game and tested them to what I thought was a reasonable level. I found it interesting that now, when you're looking at the actual quality number associated with each item, it's on a basis of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for each of the colors. That means there's absolutely no separation from the colors. As an example, in other games, if it's based on a larger scale, you might find a gold quality item that is, say, quality 50 and deals 100 damage, and then a counterpart of that exact same color or tier with a quality of only 45, which would only have 95 damage as a result of those hidden number values. It's not the case here, but it's another thing to look out for when they decided to expand on the quality system in the future, as either a way to rebalance it or add more aspects to the variety of items that you can get. I doubt they would, but I thought I should still bring it up. Like I said before, after all the research and testing I did on this, I'm expecting they're going to introduce a patch soon to rebalance the whole thing and change everything that I've mentioned here today. So keep that in mind, and obviously if there are any other changes, feel free to mention them down below. This stuff is never future-proof, and the game is constantly being changed as we move forward with Season 5. That's it for today. Subscribe for more LO videos and leave a comment down below. I always answer everyone's questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.